Let's be real for a second. We are all absolutely drowning in content. Most of it, totally forgettable. So, if you're a podcaster today, the game isn't just about making noise anymore. It's about becoming completely, utterly unignorable. So, let's break down how you actually do that.
Okay, this right here, this is the entire ball game. On one side, you've got content. It's just stuff. It fills the space, but it's forgettable. But on the other side, you've got insight. And insight is what makes you unignorable. This is the big shift we're going to talk about.
So what in the world is insight? It's not just another piece of information. Nope. It's a perspective so new, so different, that it literally rearranges how your listener sees a problem. It's that whoa moment, the one that makes them hit pause and just think. That's our target.
All right, first things first, we have to build on this foundational idea. Your job is not to create more content. Your job is to deliver true insight.
So how do you actually make this happen? Well, first, you've got to find unique perspectives. Don't just repeat what everyone else is saying. Give us your take on it. Second, you structure your episodes for revelation. You're taking your listener on a journey, leading them to a big idea. And third, you have to be hyper-specific. Generic advice is just noise. Super specific advice, that's a lifesaver.
But here's the thing. Insight doesn't just appear out of thin air. It's born from strategy. So before you even dream of hitting that record button, we got to do the thinking first. Honestly, this is the part most podcasters skip, and it's exactly why they struggle to make a real impact. And this is the bottom line. A podcast is just a collection of audio files. A strategic asset, on the other hand, is a powerful tool that actually builds your business. And the difference between them? It has nothing to do with your microphone. It's all about the thinking that happens before you record. A really solid way to organize that thinking is with a roadmap just like this. Number 1, figure out your why. Why does this podcast exist? Is it to get leads? To build authority? Then number 2, go deep on your audience, the who, and create content that solves their specific problems. And finally, number 3, figure out the how. How are you going to measure success in a way that actually matters to your business? Now, once you start thinking strategically, it naturally leads you to a really important decision. And it helps you avoid one of the biggest mistakes out there, trying to be for absolutely everyone.
I love this question because it just paints such a perfect picture. When your podcast topic is way too broad, you're basically just standing in the middle of a giant empty stadium and shouting. Sure, you're making noise, but no one out there feels like you're talking directly to them. I mean, think about it. A podcast about business, okay? But who is that for? A Fortune 500 CEO? A college intern? A small business owner? By trying to be for everyone, it ends up connecting with no one. Totally forgettable.
Now, look at this. A podcast on how financial advisors can use TikTok to land Gen Z clients. Boom. You instantly know exactly who it's for and the super specific, urgent problem it solves. If you're that financial advisor, this show is completely unignorable.
See, going deep instead of wide is how you become irreplaceable. You become the person to listen to on that one specific topic. It actually forces you to become an even bigger expert. And maybe best of all, your podcast acts like a magnet, automatically attracting your perfect ideal clients.
Okay, so you've got your strategy, you've nailed your niche. Now for the fun part. How do you actually cook up that unignorable insight episode after episode?
I want you to think about it this way. The best podcasts are not treasure chests. They don't just dump a bunch of facts on you and say, good luck. No, the best ones, they're treasure maps. They guide the listener, they build curiosity, and they lead them to discovering the treasure for themselves.
And the tool you use to draw that map, it's something called an epiphany question. I love that term. These are questions specifically designed to flip your listener from being a passive consumer into an active explorer.
So, the first epiphany question you've got to answer is the "so what?" question. Seriously, what urgent, nagging problem does this episode solve for your ideal listener? If you can't answer that clearly, the episode just doesn't have a purpose.
Next up, you need to define the outcome. You have to ask the transformation question. How is your listener's life, their business, their mindset, whatever it is, going to be tangibly different after they've listened? You're not just giving them info, you're promising them a transformation.
And finally, this one might be the most critical. You have to ask the only I can question. What unique belief, what hard-won experience do you hold that makes your perspective totally unique? This is where your real, authentic insight lives. You have to lean into that.
Okay, so you're creating this incredible, insightful podcast. But how do you know if it's actually working? Well, that means we have to stop chasing vanity metrics and start measuring what really, truly matters.
We're all conditioned to chase big, flashy numbers like this. 1 million downloads! Wow, sounds amazing, right? But what does it actually mean? These are anonymous downloads. You have no idea who these people are or if they're even the right audience for you.
Now compare that big number to this one. 1. Just 1. But it's a call with your ideal client who says, "I've been listening to your podcast for weeks, and I feel like I already know and trust you." I mean, come on, which number actually impacts your business? It's not even close. So, you have to measure the stuff that moves the needle. Track lead quality. How many people on sales calls mention the podcast? Track your share of mind. Are other experts inviting you on their shows? And track your sales cycle. Are listeners becoming clients way faster because that trust is already built? That's real ROI.
And finally, when you put all of this together, from the strategy to the insight to the right measurement, something really cool starts to happen. It's not just your podcast that changes, it's your entire mindset.
This reminds me of this powerful quote from David C. Baker: "The person who cares the least holds the most power." Now, this isn't about being arrogant or a jerk, it's about earned confidence. When you know your show delivers real, undeniable value, you're no longer desperate for every download or every yes.
And this authority mindset changes everything about how you operate. You stop chasing listeners and you start attracting them. You stop begging big names to be on your show and you start inviting them as peers. And you negotiate everything, from sponsorships to partnerships, from a position of incredible strength.
So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this one thought. Stop thinking about making more content. Start thinking about the treasure map you're drawing for your listener. So the only question left is, what map will your podcast draw?